This video is going to give a quick demo of using LaTeX. So there's a couple ways to do this. We're going to get started in Overleaf. This is one of the methods you can use. There are two other methods that are in the tabs that we'll just talk about in just a moment. But the first thing to do is to click New Project. And then from this list, choose Blank Project. Then you'll have to name the project. I'll go ahead and just say something like homework 14. Maybe you're starting homework 1. I mean, just make it a name that's going to be useful to you. Maybe you even want to put the course number you're dealing with in here. You could even put your name in as part of this so that it's easy to identify. Just make something that's going to be a useful system for you. And I think to make it easier for your instructor, if you did include a name, I think it probably just what do I say? It'll make it easy to sort many files altogether. Now, Overleaf is one of several options that are out here, and it actually starts with a bunch of extra stuff in here. We're actually going to go ahead and get rid of this soon enough anyway, but if I can just explain some of the other options you have. If you're on a Mac, so the thing about Overleaf, and there's a couple other online things, is it's fully online. The benefit is you don't have to install anything. The downside is I find it to be a little slow, basically because I got used to other things that you can actually install on a computer. So you can use the system, and for the sake of demonstrating, we will use the system. But an alternate system, if you're on a Mac, there's a website called MacTech. So if you go to MacTech, there's a download here, and then it's really a bunch of different software, but then the software you'd be using day to day, among the many that have been installed, is one called Tech Shop. So I find that to be rather convenient to use on a Mac. Now, if you're on a Windows computer, then I would suggest for an all-in-one, similar type of thing, downloading a thing called MikTeX. So that's MikTeX, MOUSE. And if you do that, there's many different pieces of software that will get installed, but the one that you'll need, but one of the things that will get installed, you'll be looking for once it's all installed, a thing called TechWorks. So the basic idea is the same whether you're using Mac or Windows. It's just the name of the big old thing you're downloading and installing is called MacTech or MikTeX, and then your day-to-day, the software that you're launching is called Tech Shop on a Mac, or it's called TechWorks on Windows. The basic idea is there's going to be a window on the left that's meant to simulate like this window here where you type things, and then this other window over here that's meant to simulate the PDF that you're looking at. But what we're going to do is go ahead and upload, so let's say that we already got a questions file from an instructor. So what we're going to do is, since we already have that file, say downloaded from Canvas, we're going to come here and now upload that template file. So here, I'll go ahead and say I'm going to select a file from my computer by clicking this. And I already have a file ready to go. I'm just going to select this template file here and then click to open it. Okay, and having done that, there's still the original file that Overleaf provided and then the file that I want. So I'm not quite sure. I think I'm going to delete the main file, and then I'll just have this file here, and then I believe this is the file that I had created for the small demo. And if I compile this, then there we go. So maybe the thing is, I don't think anything in this panel we're going to need, so I'm going to just collapse this, and I might actually just do this. It depends, which side you want to see more of, but I think this will be better for our sake here. Now, for the sake of demoing, what we can do is I'm just going to actually erase this. And actually, before erasing it, maybe I should just comment. You kind of see already there's text here, and then there's this $sign. Maybe I'll actually zoom in a layer or two. There we go. You'll see a $sign here. That's indicating the start of math mode. And then, \frac to get a fraction, d as the top of the fraction, dx as the bottom. You can kind of see what's going on here, right? And after writing a certain amount of math that's in notation, $sign to end the notation mode, and then a period to end the sentence. But I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this, and then we can hit recompile to see, oh yeah, now that's gone, right? So I'm going to actually just start all over, and it is useful to have this AMS math loaded. So this is one of two packages that are listed here. We could yeah, let's just get going. So mathematics can be inline, such as $a squared plus b squared equals c squared, or can be centered, and there's this ending dollar sign here, or can be centered. Centered math is better for more complicated stuff. Or, I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated, but there's going to be reasons you're going to want math to be centered kind of in the middle of a line. So, for example, we take the equation, and then we'll go ahead and center this. So this is a backslash square bracket, and then a backslash ending right square bracket. And in between here, we'll go ahead and have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And then outside of this, and divide both sides by $a, because a should be notation, to get, and then we'll do this again. So in the centered math mode, x squared plus fraction, in the numerator, bx over a plus fraction c over a is equal to 0, and we'll get a period there. So let's compile that much just to see it. See how that looks. You see this a really is in math mode. If we were to delete these dollar signs here, you can see then this a changed, right? This a then looks like the a that's an and. So let's fix that again to look like that, and then recompile. Okay, this is a good place to point out that, whoops, there's a, what is this error? To get, oh, sorry, one thing about this web-based system is when you type in a dollar sign, it kind of assumes you want that next dollar sign. I'm not used to this because I don't use this web thing all that often. Okay, there we go. So that looks fixed. One comment I should make is in this sort of this level of mathematics where you're expected to use LaTeX, mathematics should be written in full sentences. So you'll see that happen, like, with a period here. And even here, we take the equation blah, no period at the end because it's not the end of a sentence yet, and divide both sides by a to get blah and a period at the end here. Now, if you move this period, it's tempting to want to put the period here to say, oh, that's not notation. And of course, that period shouldn't be notation. But unfortunately, that period ends up right here. So this is kind of one thing just to keep in mind when you're doing the centerline mathematics. You are going to need that period within that math mode, this backslash square bracket. Okay, let's, so that's the full sentences question. Now let's kind of just, and outside of this type, maybe a little more, like let capital A, math notation, right, be a 2 by 3 matrix. We will use a little a subscript and then in curly braces I comma j for to denote the ij entry of a, where let's actually pause here and just maybe type recompile that much. So you'll note there's a couple places where we've already used curly braces. So here it was over here. So think of curly braces like here it was to explain that bx, that entirety, is the numerator of the fraction. Curly braces is the thing that is used in LaTeX to help group things together. But then it creates this issue of, well, where, start math mode, dollar sign, where I in, and then if you wanted to write this set like this, this is not going to look right. Oh, where's my curly braces in the PDF for my set notation? So we're going to need backslashes in front of that. I'll recompile this so you see what happens right there. Okay, and dollar sign J in backslash curly brace 1, 2, 3, backslash curly brace dollar sign period. I tend to put the period outside of the math mode here because it can. I mean, again, here there's this exception. In other words, and let's do another one of these centered math environments and have capital A equals, and then we can put this on a new line. So a fully blank line isn't allowed in this mode, but we're about to fill this line by doing a begin array. I want 3 columns, and I want them to be centered, centered, centered. I could also use L for left or R for right, but I'll just keep all 3 columns centered. There should be an end array, and in between, I'll have an a sub 1, 1, ampersand to move the next spot over in the array, a sub 1, 2, ampersand, a sub 1, 3, double backslash to start the next line, a sub 2, 1, ampersand, a sub 2, 2, ampersand, a sub 2, 3. Let's compile that. There's one thing that's missing. Yeah, so this looks pretty good, but what I actually want is in front of this, I want to surround my matrix using either parentheses or square brackets. So doing just a left parenthesis and a right parenthesis alone, that's going to be too tiny, right? So one thing you can do is say, oh, actually, I want the symbol to grow in length based on what it's surrounding. So to do that, in front of this, I put a backslash left. And same deal here, I put a backslash right. So that will do it. If you want, some people prefer having square brackets in these spots, for your matrix. Either way is fine, but I'll go ahead and switch it back to, you could even have it lopsided. It looks almost like we're trying to do some kind of interval notation, but nobody ever actually does this. And let's do one other thing while we're here. Very often in drawing out matrices, you want a vertical bar somewhere. So let's say we want it between the second and third column. So you've got this center align for the first column, center line. Here you could stick a pipe symbol, vertical bar symbol, and that'll create the vertical bar there. But we'll get rid of that. And let's say this is actually the end of the sentence, so let's get a period right after this right parenthesis. So right there. Okay, now let's add a little more. We'll scroll down. For all x in math BBR. So this is math blackboard bold. So this is how you get the real numbers symbol. Now this actually, you see this red, there's an error here. In order to get this math BB thing to work, you actually have to add a package up here. So I just copied the AMS math line, and we're going to put in an AMS, whoops, AMS was already there, AMS fonts. And so then if we recompile, this error right there is going to go away, and you'll see the R will change in shape. There we go, for all R. And then x squared is equal to x centerline dot x, period. Now I'll compile this, and this is all technically mathematically correct, but you'll notice when you actually have notation, comma, and notation, it actually can be a little hard to read and interpret what this means. So that's why I actually stopped the math mode and started it, is because after a comma, I tend to prefer not to have notation immediately before and after. So here, I try to insert some words. Whatever words describes this, and here it's an equation. So how about like we have the equation this, right? And then after, let's see, we can, let me just compile just to point out, like here this may be distracting visually, but then after, I think that just works a little better. That's just a personal preference thing. Just to play with a couple other things, note that this is my attempt to really show how few dollar signs you really should try to use. X squared plus x cubed plus x to the fourth is not equal to x to the ninth. Common error, right? Is to algebra students saying that you could add the exponents here. Just to point out the common LaTeX-like error that people tend to make is people tend to have the temptation of trying to write out what's going on like this somehow or something. The spacing gets weird. You see, the point is, you don't need to keep entering and exiting math mode. The idea is, let me just fix this. I think that's right. Let me just compile to see if the error goes. Yeah, the point is this entire segment of writing is all mathematics, right? It's sorry, excuse me. Let's say it's all mathematical notation. So that's why there's a starting dollar sign here and an ending dollar sign, and yeah. And just to demonstrate a couple other things, in general, x to the a plus x to the b. This is just an attempt to explain what just happened here. Equals x to the a plus b. This is not going to work, as you'll see, because you see how that's getting interpreted? I want that entire a plus b to be the exponent, so we'll use LaTeX grouping symbol, right? This is a false formula, and maybe I'll even put the word formula in. There's an attempt to use double quotes like this, but it's not going to work to create what you want because you see how the quote symbols are unbalanced. So what I actually suggest you do is just use the single quote symbol twice here, and then right by the escape key on your keyboard is this other kind of a backtick quote symbol. And if we recompile, that's going to create the right balance for these quote symbols. Okay. So yeah, this is a false formula, as is $, quantity x plus y squared equals x squared plus y squared, period. So I know that a lot of what's going on here is trying to explain some of how to use the LaTeX, but we're actually trying to create text that's actually meaningful and mathematically precise here. So if you go and read, note that this sum is not equal to x to the ninth. In general, this is an attempt to explain this, right? In general, this equaling this is a false formula, as is this very common false formula. So we're almost done with this, but just to really maybe continue this and demonstrate another LaTeX feature that you may find useful, and we'll do this by actually explaining this formula, this false formula, right? In fact, sometimes what you want to do is demonstrate what's going on by showing several things that are equal to each other, several expressions. So for that, yeah, there's a center aligned math thing, but if you have many expressions, like this is equal to that, is equal to that expression, is equal to that expression, I find it useful to use the begin align star environment. For this to work, align star, you will need this AMS math package, but we've already loaded that. And what you do in here is you'll do, like x plus y quantity squared ampersand equals, well, this is x plus y times x plus y, right? New line, ampersand equals, so the ampersand is saying, hey, the thing that appears next, that's where you do the aligning. So let's see, what is this? If we expand this out, xy plus y squared, maybe we'll compile that much just so you see what's going on here. So right now this equals is aligned to this equals. If we wanted this first equals here, that's this one, to align to, I don't know, this is kind of bizarre to do, but just to that x right there, we could just move this ampersand right here. So it's not technically wrong, it's just going to look kind of funny to have this equal sign aligned with that x. I mean, you can do it, but who would do that? I mean, you often want to align equal sign to equal sign, and then we can do this again and have, align, so on a new line, double backslash, ampersand equals x squared plus 2xy plus y squared, and maybe that's actually the end of the sentence, so we'll put a period right in there. Okay, so this, working this out, showing what square means, doing the expansion, collecting like terms, is our way of explaining, I guess, what happened right there. Okay, maybe just one or two last things. Note cosine squared of theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. I've typed this incorrectly just to show an error. So if you compile, this seems like it should work. Oh, and look, I didn't even make the error I was trying to make. So I did it correctly, backslash sine, and you can actually compare here. COS, like this, without the backslash in front, TeX is interpreting this as three separate variables. The variable C times the variable O times the variable S. This, in fact, in terms of font, is the same as X and Y here. So we should actually get a backslash in front of that. And then if I hit compile, notice how this, it took a second because this is over the web, but you see how that changed. So this is a true formula, as is, same deal here, determinant of A times determinant of B equals determinant of AB. So this is not correct, as written, like in terms of the actual visual. Like it's understandable, but what should happen is, just like sine and cosine, determinant, there should be a backslash. And if we compile, you'll see now how it looks, right? So you'll see that the A and the B are italicized, they are slanted for the mathematical notation, but det and cosine and sine aren't, and that's achieved by using a backslash in front of each of these. Okay. Oh, and let's just say, for square matrices A and B. So I am demonstrating here for you exactly how much use of dollar signs there are right there. Okay. Now, let's just say that for us, this document is done. It didn't demonstrate all mathematical notation, but you kind of get a sense of kind of what's going on with the begin and a lot and end, begin and end with an array, dollar sign versus backslash square bracket. It's trying to demonstrate quite a bit of everything. Now, say if you're all done, from the menu, you can download either the source, which is just going to be, I guess, if you look at the very bottom, um, it's going to be a zip file. You can also, if you need the source, you can just take all of what's here, select all this text, and you can copy paste this into a text editor. So on Mac, there's a text editor called Text Edit, and then you just want to first make sure that you're in text mode when you use it. On Windows, there's a text editor called Notepad. You just would like to, if you've named your project this, when you copy paste and save, you just want to make sure that your file is probably, titled like, probably in the same way, just so it's easy to find, .tex. So that's the typical ending for a LaTeX file. Okay, so that's for the source, right? It's for this stuff here. You can also then just download a PDF by clicking this, and then there's your PDF. We could even click and it'll just open in a new tab. And there we go. This is actually a PDF file. You can open it using Adobe Acrobat Reader.